Hey y'all! Welcome to Flip Flop Barnyard. I'm Jenna. If you're new here, welcome, and if you've been here a while, we appreciate you. Thanks for sticking around and supporting our family. And today, I'm going to be making bread. I'm in the kitchen, an actual kitchen, yay! Super excited to be making bread. I haven't made bread with fresh ground wheat in a very long time. I make sourdough a lot, and I've just made a lot of basic white bread, but to actually grind fresh wheat and make bread has been quite a while since I've been able to do that. So I'm really excited. I'm going to bring you guys along for the process today while I'm doing this. I think we have a little footage of Derek and the boys. They were cutting some wood, so that will probably be mixed in here somewhere. It's not an exact how-to video. This is the first time I've actually made this recipe. It's by Grains and Grit, so I will link below. She has a video plus a link to her website for the actual recipe. I'm really excited to try it. It looks really good, and I've made whole wheat bread in the past, and it's always really good, and so I was like, well, let's do this. So first I'm going to start by grinding my wheat. So I'll show you. I've got magically already measured out. I measured all my ingredients out, so I'd be ready to go. Of whole wheat, hard white wheat berries. See those? They're just the actual whole grain. And I'm going to dump them in here. And my Nutri-Mill grain mill, I had this grain mill, I think I bought it in 2012, so 11 years. And it is still a workhorse. It's awesome. I'm really pleased with it. And I'm going to turn it on and grind in the finest flour settings. And I'll be right back with you in just a minute. All right, my flour is done grinding, or my wheat's done grinding into flour. And this specific recipe calls for a kind of a sponge. It doesn't really ferment, it just sits for about 10 to 15 minutes. I have a little bag of flour here left over from where we made pancakes. Anytime I grind wheat and I have leftover flour, I stick it in a bag and I put it in the freezer, because once you grind your wheat berries, they'll start losing the nutrients pretty quickly. So if you freeze them, it helps preserve the nutrients a little longer. And since it was cold and frozen, you don't really want to use cold things when you're trying to make bread or put your yeast to sleep. I also store my yeast in the freezer, so my yeast is already very cold. I just set this little bag by the wood stove, and now it's warm. And when you grind your wheat comes out very warm. So I'm going to use my fresh warm wheat first, because I'm only using 3 cups since it's really warm, and this is still a little bit cool. It's warm, but not. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my flour and my yeast and my water in here. All right, I'm letting that set. And while it's setting, I'm going to show you some things. I know I showed you this the other day, but I've kind of changed it around just a little bit, and I'm super excited about it. But I showed you Kylie had made me labels. I don't think you could see them very well though. And this one is really cute. Salt. But I kind of reorganized. So I have my brown sugar, powdered sugar, and that's all organic. And then oats are here. Then I have baking powder. She's got to make me a label for that. Really happy because I was out of baking powder and I knew I had bought it in bulk. So I found 2 more pounds of baking powder. I'm moving my pink salt. And then over here, on this side of the kitchen, we still have to make labels, but I have cornmeal and grits and popcorn. And look, I got these cute little foaming soap dispensers because I make my own foaming hand wash with like liquid Castile soap, water, and essential oils. I've made it for years, and I love it, and I've always just used, I had some foaming dispensers from like the essential oil company, and then I had bought like just a store brand foaming soap and dumped it out and used those containers because they were cheaper. But I was like, I really like these, I'm gonna go ahead and get them. So I got them, and I did want to say a thank you because one of you bought us a few gifts and we were really blessed by you and your kindness, and one of them was a bagel slicer. I was watching the Stivers video the other day, and they made bagels, and I was like, I'm gonna make bagels, and then they had a slicer, and I was like, I'm gonna get a slicer so when I make my bagels I can slice them. So I added it to the wish list, and one of you saw it and bought it. And also we got camera batteries, which was awesome because hopefully you can see that the video quality is better. Gotta get better lighting. The video quality is better in this video. It's because we're using our camera rather than our phones. I don't know why our phones are really fuzzy, but they weren't great. But we were down to 2 batteries. They don't last very long, and actually I could only find one. Then I found the second one, so I was literally going online to order the other ones, and we ended up getting these 2 in the mail. So it was like amazing, perfect timing. So I was really happy about that. We really needed it. So we appreciate you. Thank you so much for your gifts. I got my giant flour canister. I don't think you guys can tell right here how big it is. It's 2 gallons. Let me get another canister so you can compare the two. This is the 1 gallon. This is what I had flour in. This is my powdered sugar. And I was going through it super fast because we go through a lot of flour. We're doing sourdough, we're feeding it, making bread, making 4 loaves at a time. So I was emptying the canister out pretty quickly. So I got the 2 gallon, and then compared to the 1 gallon, it's a lot bigger. It's got about 12 pounds of flour. I'm not sure how the math works out because this one fits just about 5 pounds of flour, and this fits 12 pounds. I don't know if their measurements are off or what, but somehow it worked out that way. All that being said, that canister is way too big to fit over on my little hutch, or really anywhere. I could put it back in the corner, not under the cabinet, but over here. But then I have to pull it in and out, and it's pretty heavy. It's like a couple pounds itself empty. Then I have 12 pounds of flour in it, so it's easily like 14, 15 pounds when it's full. And I'm like, I don't really want to be lugging that around all over the place. So I thought, oh, it's pretty. I'll just set it on the table over there. And Kylie is going to make me a really pretty label for it. I'm excited about that. She's going to make me a label for other things. I'm going to have to get some more canisters for my wheat berries. I have hard white wheat and soft white wheat. Soft white wheat for baking baked goods like biscuits and cookies and stuff like that. Where the hard white wheat is better for bread because it has a higher gluten content. And I didn't know that when I got my grain mill 11 years ago. And I tried baking bread for like 2 or 3 months with soft white wheat, and it wouldn't turn out. And I was so frustrated. And then finally a friend of mine was like, what kind of wheat are you using? And I was like, I looked up my order. I was like, I ordered soft white wheat. And she was like, that's your problem. And she actually gave me a 5-gallon bucket of hard white wheat because she had it and wasn't making bread. So that was really sweet of her. That was a long, long time ago, and haven't looked back since. So the next step is going to be adding my other ingredients, which is oil, sugar, and salt. And I'm using sugar instead of honey. She calls for honey, but we just prefer the flavor of the sugar, raw sugar in the bread instead of honey. And also last winter our bees didn't make it through, and so we had new bees this spring, and we got just a little honey. So I'm like rationing the honey, and I don't want to use it in the bread. I've been using it. I drink a lot of hot tea. I've actually quit drinking coffee, and I just drink a lot of hot tea. So I'm gonna go ahead and use sugar. All right, we have it ready to go into kneading mode. It is pulled away from the sides. It is, I'm sorry, can you see that? Pulled away from the sides, so the sides are coming clean when it goes around with the mixer. And it's a little, it's soft to touch. It's not sticky, but it's still, I mean, barely tacky. You don't want to add more flour than that because then you end up with a really dense bread. So I'm going to let this go for about 10 minutes. And then I'm going to check it and make sure I feel like it's ready for the next step for rising. And while that's happening, I'm going to clean my kitchen for the 3rd time today. I got the kitchen all clean and ready for this video. And then everybody came in ready for lunch, and we pulled all the leftovers out of the fridge and had everything heated up and trashed the kitchen. So then I had to clean it again. And now I'm making a mess again. What do you think, little helper? Are you ready to help me clean the kitchen? Yeah? Okay, all right, so I'm gonna let this knead, and we'll be back in a minute. All right, it's done kneading. My assistant has been smushing on it. It's a very smooth dough. I'm making 2 loaves today, by the way. This is a 2-loaf recipe. It's probably important to know. So I'm just gonna pull it out of the bowl. Probably not. Let mommy do this part, okay? And I know a lot of people do a lot of like, they fold their bread and they do all this stuff. Well, I'm not like that. I don't know. I'll show you how I make it. It's not scientific at all. All right. Getting out of the bread, the bowl is the biggest task. So there's 2. I literally eyeball it and I just squeeze it and break it in half. And then I just kind of fold it into itself. So I guess I do fold it, but a lot of people lay it out and mash it out into a square, roll it out into like a rectangle, and then do all this technique. And I kind of pinch the bottom together and then I make it sort of a loaf shape. Then I put it in bread pan. You can oil your bread pans, and for years I have oiled my bread pans, and then I found this little trick from Kate over at Venison for Dinner, of using parchment paper to line your bread pans. And it may seem wasteful to some, but I love it because I don't have to oil the pans, which is kind of a pain. And my bread can come straight out. So it's supposed to sit in the pans for like 10 minutes and then pull out, but I can just let it pull it straight out. So that's one left. I'm gonna do the other. This was something about this recipe and why I wanted to try it, was that you don't double rise. Most breads like this, yeast breads, you would put them in a bowl and let them rise. Then you would punch the dough down and then you would form your loaves and then let them rise again. Which is one of the tricks when you're using whole wheat to making a better bread. Jacob made a tiny loaf. I'm gonna put it on top of this one. It's got a little button. Anyway, so one of the things she said is she's found doing one rise, she ends up with a better bread. So I've never tried it that way. I'm gonna try it. They're really pretty. The dough is beautiful. I love the texture. So I'm gonna let this rise for probably 30 minutes or an hour. Typically I will turn my oven on to bake, preheat for 1 minute, and then I'll turn it off, and that gets it just warm enough for the bread to rise really well. Just a little bit more. While we're waiting on that to rise, let's go check on these boys cutting firewood.
Hey y'all, it is freezing out. It's actually not quite freezing, but the wind chill's below freezing. It's cold, super windy. Trying to do a quick intro between the wind gust here. We're gonna try to gather some firewood because it's gonna be like down in the 20s tonight, plus super windy. And we're really low, so we're gonna get in here with the tractor and try to pull some of this locust out. Locust is my favorite firewood, so I just kind of wanna capitalize and get mostly locust if I can. Here this afternoon. Of course, I only got Josiah and Jeremiah with me, and I'm gonna get in here with the grapple, pull some out into the road, go back up and get the truck, bring the truck up, and cut it up and load it, and go to the house. So anyway, we're gonna do a little time lapsing. We got the wood out. We're gonna cut it, and these boys are gonna load it. It's cold, isn't it, boys? Mm-hmm. Yes, we're in Jack's truck. This is like the perfect old wood truck. We really are enjoying having this because it goes places that my truck won't. My truck's just too heavy to get to some of these places, but his is not, and it does well. So it works very good, especially when we have mud and stuff to contend with. We got some wood, not a lot, but more than we need to get by, and we will cut some more when the weather is more, either the ground is frozen and less muddy or dry. So, because this is terrible, miserable to try to cut wood in this mud. So anyway, that's a wrap on getting the wood cut.
Look at these boys. They went out and cut all that wood, and now they're stacking it. And Hope is sweeping again because she loves to sweep. You got more to bring in, or is that all you're bringing in for now?
That's all I'm bringing in.
But you have more to stack outside?
Yep.
Awesome. You did a great job. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Look at how these rows. They are beautiful, and Jacob's little baby one on top looks nice too. I'm really stoked about these because, like I said, I've never tried this recipe, but they look really good and they smell amazing. So, preheating the oven. Don't want to preheat the oven with your bread in it. I've done that before because I put the bread in the oven to rise and I forgot, and it just doesn't turn out as good. So that's just a little tip. Anyway, these have to sit here while the oven preheats, and then I'm going to bake them, and then we'll come back and we'll see how beautiful they cut. Well, you're not supposed to cut the bread till it's cool, but I'm going to cut these and I'm going to taste them while they're still warm. Our patient is doing a lot better. He's got real pants, no more paper hospital pants. We had to go buy him some sweatpants because jeans aren't happening. So, and a friend of ours brought a wheelchair so he can be a little more mobile, which is great. You can see he's moved into our living room. Some other friends brought him some more video games. We're not huge on video games, but when you're laid up for a long time, there's not a whole lot to do. So video games it is. But he's doing well. He's able to play his guitar, and he's supposed to be leading worship with the youth band on Sunday morning at church. So he actually has practice. Derek's going to take him to practice and see how it goes. And hopefully it goes well. But he's feeling a lot better. Still in pain, but not like you were.
No, not like I was.
So anyway, we appreciate your prayers and keep them coming, right? I got the bread out of the oven. It's kind of dark in here, you can't see. I could have made 3 to 4 loaves out of this. Next time I do this recipe, I'm gonna do 3 loaves. It rose so big and beautiful, but because it rose so big, it got closer to the top, so it browned on the top and it wasn't done in the middle. You wanna, whole wheat bread needs to be about 190 degrees in the center to be done. I kept temping it and I was like 5 more minutes. So I ended up cooking this because they were so big. I ended up cooking them for 50 minutes instead of 35 to get done in the centers. So I feel sure that if I had put them in if I had done 3 loaves instead of just the 2, I would have ended up with a much shorter cook time. You can see the lighting is still not great. They're really dark. Wheat bread is going to be darker. Wheat bread's going to be a little darker. They're not. They look darker in the camera than they are in real life. I'm going to cut into them in a little bit and let them cool a little bit, because if you cut them too soon, they really won't be. It won't be quite right. They'll fall apart. So I'm going to let them cool for a little bit, and I'm going to cut into them. I have butter softening to put on them, and we are going to do a taste test in a little bit. And if this tastes as good as it smells and looks, then we are in business, and I'm going to stick with this recipe from now on, and I'm going to try it again with more bread pans. All right, these have been sitting for 10 minutes. I pulled them out, and the nice thing about the parchment paper is my bread pans are clean and I don't have to wash them, and then I can reuse the same parchment paper. So I think that's a win. I'm going to cut this because I'm a rule breaker. Super soft in the center, you can see. It's upside down. Smells really good. All right, I'm gonna grab my butter. Gotta have softening. This is not homemade butter. Thought I was out, but thankfully I found some more in one of our deep freezers. But it's down in the deep freezer. Copious amounts of butter. That's excellent. Super, super delicious. She has lots of recipes for whole wheat. Go check her out and check out this recipe because this is really good. I'm excited to see how it is tomorrow. She says the next day it cuts even better and it stays nice and moist. If you heard a beep a second ago, that was the oven preheating again because I decided to make chocolate chip cookies. It's a baking day, what can I say? So I'm gonna go make some cookies and I will see you guys later. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can be notified every time we upload a video. Give us a thumbs up so YouTube will know that you're enjoying this. Comment below. And we'll catch you on the next one. Can you say bye?
Bye.